Hi, it's ChrisBlueNZ here, responding to WannabeTesla's response to CompletelyLovely's response to 5 questions every atheist must answer. I apologise in advance for the video quality. It's because I'm recording it at night. As you can see, the stars are out. I'm also using a major crib sheet here, so I'll be glancing down all the time, probably most of the time. Anyway, to my response. This is about the question of chance and randomness, and how much of the universe and of things that occur are actually truly random or could be said to be predetermined. I think it's an interesting question, and I've got some thoughts on it which I thought I'd share. Lucky you. The idea that every detail of the behaviour of every creature, every molecule, every atom and so on is predetermined and not random is, as you say, it's one that can never be proved, never be disproved, because no matter what happens and how random it may seem, you can always say, well, it was predetermined. In a simple case, tossing a coin gives an apparently random result, but if you had extremely accurate and precise information about all of the factors involved, such as how the coin sits on your thumb when you flick it, how your thumb moves, the exact shape of the coin, the dirt on the coin, the impurities in the coin, the air currents and friction, tiny variations in the gravitational effect on the coin, and so on, you could possibly simulate the coin toss, and you could then say that the outcome was predetermined because it was determined by all of those factors, and that's true, of course. But we say the result is random because in practice no one is able to do that simulation, especially in real time, without a computer, assuming the coin is flicked properly, that is. And it appears random, it's uncontrollable in practice, so we say it's random. Now, our universe could be simulated if you had an infinitely powerful computer. I don't happen to have one here, but you may do. With individuals acting, interacting, evolving, and where every outcome of every apparently random decision is actually determined by existing known quantities and is therefore predetermined. If you ran the simulation more than once with the same starting conditions, each one would be identical in every detail, even after billions of simulated years. In fact, you mentioned this conversation that we're having on YouTube would even be predetermined. Even as far as I know, which isn't much, radioactive decay and quantum weirdness, which seem random, they can't be proven to be non-predetermined, as far as I know, as I say, because again, you can always just say that they were predetermined. Whatever happened because of randomness or because it was predetermined. There's no real way to tell, as far as I know. Thinking more along those lines brings in the issue of time travel, which I think is probably impossible anyway because it hugely complicates everything, and I don't want to go down that road anyway. So if we can't tell the difference between a random event, a truly random event, and a predetermined but random looking event, then does it really matter which one it was? What difference would it make? I can't see any difference. To me, the idea that everything is predetermined, it's a bit like the idea of the multiverse. It's kind of interesting to think about as an intellectual exercise, if you like, but it doesn't really have any practical implications for the real world, as far as I can tell. The question of how much randomness is actually predetermined is unanswerable, as you say, if you want an answer of none or all or some percentage or something like that. But my answer is simply, I don't know, and since it doesn't seem to make any difference, I don't really care. So the outcomes that we say are random are the result of a huge number of factors, some of which may be simple and knowable, but many of which are so subtle and complicated that we can't know them in any practical way. So the outcome appears random to us. And since we don't have an infinitely powerful computer to run a simulation with, for all intents and purposes these outcomes are random. So I'm going to call them functionally random. Now, getting back to the starting subject of evolution, at 1 minute 52 in your video you say that evolution is a non-random process, and I take issue with that statement. The effect that any individual has on the evolution of its species mostly depends on how many times it reproduces. This is the natural selection part of one circle, if you like, of the evolutionary process, which consists of reproduction, random mixing and mutation, growth, and mate selection, assuming the individual is still alive at the time. And an individual's ability to reproduce is partly determined by its DNA, some of which is passed on to its descendants, completing the circle, but is also affected by the environment. In the phrase survival of the fittest. Fittest means the most fit for the environment that it finds itself in. Doesn't mean physically fit, obviously. The environment is determined by a huge number of other factors, including other members of the same species, members of other species, chemicals present, sunlight, and millions of other factors that are more or less significant, and which affect the individual through the famous laws of physics, both the known ones and the unknown ones. So since these factors are functionally random, the natural selection part of evolution cannot be said to be non-random in my view. For a simple example of that, look at species that lay thousands of eggs because most of the hatchlings get eaten by predators. I think turtles are an example of this. The factors that determine whether a hatchling survives are partly inherent in their DNA, because maybe it can run faster than the other hatchlings or has a stronger shell or something, but this would be hugely outweighed by other factors such as whether a predator happens to be nearby when it hatches, which is a functionally random factor. Secondly, the other part of evolution, which is the mixing of the parent's DNA, assuming there are two parents, and any mutations that may occur, are also functionally very random, and small differences in the resulting DNA can make a big difference to the individual's success or failure in its environment as well. So while evolution is non-random in the sense that it tends to create individuals that are well suited to its environment, I think it's misleading to say that it is a non-random process. So a long time to argue one small point, I know, but you can always ask for your money back. See you later.